Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Leading from Alignment with our good friend and coach, John Obolewski, as promised, a very special guest today. How are you today, John?
Hey Jim, I'm well, upright. Uh,
That's the standard of well. Once you hit, if you're not
yes,
if you're not over 60, that made no sense. If you're over 60, trust me.
yeah, and very excited to have our dear friend
Yeah.
Dr. Ralph Neighbour with us today on not only today's podcast but next week's podcast as
Ooh,
well.
a
Ralph
double
has been,
header.
yes, doubleheader. Ralph's been part of the Converge coaching team for about I think we're about going on 4 years now.
Yeah.
Mm,
And Ralph is one of those kind of guys that you meet him and like you feel like instantly you're
yeah.
his best friend.
Yeah.
Um,
I
he
agree.
just has that way about him. And Ralph and I hit it off 4 years ago and just never looked back. So he's been such an amazing member of the team. He coaches for us. He does facilitates cohorts for us, and then helps us with some special projects that we're doing out in Southern California for the SBC and church planners. And so, Ralph Neighbour, welcome to the podcast today.
Well, thank you so much. It's wonderful to be with you.
Awesome. And one the subject today, Jim and Ralph, is based on a book that I don't know, Jim, if you've read this book. I know Ralph has read it. I have read it and taken notes on this book because it was so good. It's called Necessary
Yeah.
Endings by Dr. Henry Cloud. And
Mm,
I think it's one of the most insightful works on this whole idea of how do we navigate the normal endings in an organizational world, in our organizational world, and also even in our personal life. And so today we're going to focus on the professional side of the world. And then next week we'll focus on the personal side of this
right.
equation as well. So if we're ready, Ralph, are you ready? You ready for us to start firing away at you?
Let's dive in.
Okay. So, Ralph, why do so many Christian leaders, and I think this is just a Christian leader issue, it can be a marketplace too,
Oh,
although
yes.
I've been in the marketplace for 20 years and I think they're a lot faster in this area than Christians are. But why do so many leaders struggle with ending things that are clearly not working?
Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate being here. This book is very dear to me because it has helped me navigate probably some of the most difficult situations in my life. And not only that, it's one of those books. I'm now in my fifth reading of it,
Wow.
and every time I read it, I gain more insight than I had before. And
Mm,
that's a very good question. Why is it? Why is it that especially Christian leaders have so much of a difficulty with this? And I think part of it is just the nature of our calling. I mean,
Yeah.
we're as especially as pastors, we have this calling to help people, and and a necessary ending, especially in the now this is going to sound cold, but the Christian organization, uh,
Yeah.
the organization of the church or the denomination or whatever it is, ending involves loss, it
yeah,
involves conflict,
Right.
it involves uncertainty, and it involves grief. And
yeah,
Right.
we are by nature optimistic. And and there's a verse that I'm going to refer back to because it's taken out of context so much in the scripture, and we use it so much that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that verse has been taken totally out of
Yeah.
context
Yeah.
uh,
yes.
because I'm not going to be playing in the final cup this year of the of FIFA.
I'm disappointed, Ralph. I was
I
looking
know
forward to that.
I tried, but and there are some things Ralph Neighbour just cannot do at 73, and
Yeah.
so what and I think because of that, there is also a fear of perception.
Mm.
We want to be one of my big things is likability. One of my strengths is likability, and I like to be liked. I like people
Right.
who like me. I don't want
Yeah.
people to say, "No, I don't like Ralph." I want people who like me. And as a pastor, boy, you can really get addicted to that, and
Right.
avoid things that make it look like, hey, I am not likable, and I'm not really a man of God, quote unquote. So,
Yeah.
Mm.
what pastors many times do is they postpone, and I did it. Oh my gosh,
Sure. We
they
all do. Yeah.
postpone difficult decisions and allow problems to persist because of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, as a result, that's one of the biggest problems that pastors have. There's so many things. I'm going to write a book one day on everything they didn't teach me in seminary. And
It's gonna be that thick.
yes, 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 yes. And this is one of those things that we're not taught about
Yeah.
early on, or the difficult things that have to happen in life if you're going to be a pastor. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Well, I
Yeah.
want to write a chapter on drywall repair alone, right? Because I have patched more holes and the proper way to patch and paint a wall. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just say, Ralph, I think as you were talking, I was thinking about this idea of pastor and leader in the two hats that pastors need. There's a shepherd side to what we
Yes.
do, and
Yeah.
there's a leader side to what we do.
Yeah.
And it's my estimation, anecdotally, that probably 80% of the leaders that we rub shoulders with lean a little more heavily into the pastor side than they do the leader side.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and as wonderful as that pastor shepherd's heart is, it can get in the way of what we're talking about here. Making hard calls, making difficult decisions, having hard conversations with the people on our team or people in our congregation.
Can I
Yes.
add the thought too that it's a living thing, your congregation or your business, and people are attached to people who are attached to people. And so to
Yes.
Yes.
ask, Sister Coleslaw has been playing the organ for the last 50 years and she's going to play that organ until the day she's an organ donor, and we all know it. But it's time to change because we're going to a keyboard. And it's not that, I mean, she's a matriarch. She's been there for 40 years. Her children and grandchildren all go there. It's not as simple as saying, hey, we're going to go to keyboard now, because there's feelings. And those feelings would be maybe more keenly felt by family members or spouses or friends. So you
Yeah.
better know that you're making the right decision. That's the only thing that gives you the courage to make the right
Yeah.
decision, I think.
And for pastors, the idea that I don't want to rock the boat, and I don't want people to leave the church. And
Yes.
and
Yeah.
when pastors make that an idol, when they
That's a good
make
word.
when they make it an idol, then that's when you're going to get into trouble. Because
Yeah.
if you're not willing to allow people to leave, now there's some pastors that are go on the other side, and they just
That's right.
pull out of the church. I mean, now that's a whole other issue.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the emotional makeup to be able to fire someone, then you should not be in the lead position.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Wow.
funny. I think
Okay.
coaching has been helpful here because you know the right thing to do, but you lack the courage to do it. But then you share it with a coach, you share it with a mentor, and they say that is the right decision for the right reasons, and it gives you the courage to do it. But it's hard. It's the hardest thing to do for me
Oh
being
yeah.
a pastor is confronting
Oh yeah.
people and then them leaving. It's
Yes.
it's brutal. Yeah.
Oh
It's
yes.
funny. Dr. Cloud in the book, Ralph, he was saying he's saying it's painful. He's not neglecting the thought that this is difficult, that it's painful, but he uses the analogy of pruning. Could you go a little bit farther, like from your decades of experience, you see the fruitfulness after the cutting, but I mean, talk to the people that maybe they're a first time leader or they've been putting this off for a long time, but we all know after a while that it's harder not to confront something over time than it is to confront something at the right time. So tell us more about the thought of pruning.
Yes. I've got a very good friend. His name is Seth Gatchell. I've known him for over 50 years, and Seth and I have served together, and he loves roses. He's got a yard full of rose bushes.
No kidding. Huh.
Roses are such a unique kind of plant, but they are typical, especially of blooming and of fruitfulness. And anyone who has roses knows that they don't just grow. You just don't put them in the ground, water them, and walk away.
Yeah.
You have to treat them. There is extra care that is required in pruning. Of course, we know Jesus talked about it a number of times in the scripture, where especially in John 15, man, if you abide in me, guess what? Some things are going to get cut, and that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And in the book, he talks about three areas of pruning. One are things that are just dead; they're just not producing, and something a
Mm.
ministry that is not, especially a ministry, because we get invested in ministries that, and there's some ministries that are going to go on, but the way we are doing it is not working and it's dead.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
those kinds of things. There's sometimes small groups. A small group is just dead. There's only one
Mhm.
person coming, and that's the leader. Well, then it's
Right.
time to probably lay that thing down,
Yeah.
or things like that. The second one are areas uh, of the rose bush or whatever it is that are unhealthy and they're draining resources. Now,
Yeah.
this uh, this this whole idea of resources for a church is critical to understand.
Mm.
Jesus said that the wise leader gives the appropriate resources at the appropriate time. And that's our job. Our job
Yeah.
as
Right.
business leaders of the church is to see money and people and appropriate them at the right time to the right place. Well, when they
Right.
stop producing, when there's no more ministry that is coming out, then there's something that has to be done on that. I remember we had a ministry that had at one time had been great. We had
Mhm.
it was a 4th of July fireworks that we had on the 3rd of July because we could get the fireworks a whole lot cheaper.
Yeah.
And and I remember one time we had 12,000 people out for it.
Wow.
12,000 people. I mean, we had everybody and anybody and the mayor and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But the next Sunday, we saw no fruit from that.
Right.
Nobody kept coming back. And
Yeah.
it was, and after a while, we realized we're spending tens of thousands of dollars and a lot of manpower on
Yeah.
something that is not growing the church. We're not seeing fruitfulness. And so, man, the day that we ended that thing, everybody said, thank God that's over.
Yeah. Huh.
But
Yeah.
the third area is the hardest one. The
Okay.
third area is that there are some things that are good, but they're not the best use of time and energy.
Yeah. That is hard.
Now that's the hardest one. And I remember we had, and this is no throwing no shade on Awana. Awana is a great ministry, and God
Sure.
has used it to win many people to Christ and help them. I think, but I remember we had an Awana ministry that at first was wonderful, and we were growing, and kids were coming to Christ. But we noticed something after a while. We noticed that we were the church where the large church down the street would send their people to come and bring their Christian kids to that thing, and
Right.
and we were spending a lot of energy to babysit for the people at the large church down the street so that they could go out and have coffee together while we babysat their kids.
Right.
And it was a good ministry, but it was drawing so much energy and finances from us that it
Yeah.
wasn't producing the results that we needed. Now, I'm not saying every Awana ministry should be like that. So
No.
please
No.
don't hear that, because some are very good. But you have to evaluate hardly. Leadership is not just helping things grow, it is deciding what has to stop growing so that the most important things can flourish.
That's
Wow.
good.
And there
That's so good.
you are limited in two areas. You are limited in time, which is the
Right.
most important, and you're limited in money.
Yeah.
And so those things come together. You have to make the hard decisions. What things in our ministry really are flourishing, and that we need to put more energy into that instead of pulling resources away that is
Yeah.
just uh, making us look a little pretty, but is not producing true fruit.
Yeah.
That's good.
Ralph, as you were answering that, thank you for that well thought out answer.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm thinking that the word stewardship
Yes.
comes to mind, that I'm a steward, and there are going to be there are going to be things that inherently aren't bad, but they are consuming an inordinate amount of time, of resources, both finance and people resources, by the way. And um, uh, and I have to make some difficult decisions.
Yes.
I found that in the lead role, that not everybody, but a lot of people had an idea of how we should spend those resources.
Yeah.
Business
Yeah.
meetings.
Right. And uh, and I learned, um, wow, I've got to make, I mean, at the end of the day, God's going to hold me accountable as
Mm.
the lead pastor, the leader of a ministry, the leader of a business. He's going to hold me accountable for how did I steward
Yeah.
those limited resources that you mentioned. And so it kind of, and that just kind of goes into the next question I have for you, Ralph. So how can a leader distinguish, between a temporary struggle and something that actually needs to end?
Well, in the book, Cloud says that you need to look for patterns in ministry,
Okay.
and patterns are critical to understanding the direction of a ministry.
Mm.
So, the first question is there progress over time?
Mm,
If you see perhaps a staff member or a church leader floundering, and you help address the issue, and that's the hardest part. We don't Not
Yeah.
addressing the issue is the critical thing, and one of the biggest mistakes pastors make is they get frustrated with something, and it begins to build and begins to grow,
Yeah.
and then instead of having addressing the problem early on, they blow up, and
mm,
that can just cause a whole lot of problems.
Yeah.
And so the important thing is that when things begin and they begin to go off base, is to address it quickly and to see it and say, hey, listen, we got a problem here. You're not coming through the way you said you were on this project, and we've got to address it. And so, is there genuine progress over time? If you address things and they are corrected, good. But if you address things and they continue to persist, you got a problem here.
Right.
And then the second thing is the person open to feedback and coaching.
mm,
And this is where coaching comes in. Many times there are leaders that when you tell them something and you say, you know what, I want to start coaching you on this, and I want to help you with this, or I'm bringing in a coach. Now we at Converge Coaching, we have seen this often where someone will call us, John, and say, I've got a staff member. He needs some coaching in this area. Well, this is a perfect thing. Well, are they open to that? And
Right.
then, and then now this is where problems begin to see patterns, and that is you have to repeat the same problem over and over again. It's a repeated cycle. And
Yep.
you walk away from a staff meeting and go, "Oh, not again."
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
not again.
Claude says
And
in the book, he says in the book, he says the best predictor of the future is the past.
that's
Pretty
right.
much.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
In fact, he uses an illustration about if somebody comes and asks my daughter for her hand in marriage, I'm going to ask for I'm going to ask for a credit report. And he said, well, the guy said, well, a credit that's horrible. He said, that's not fair. And I said, well, tell him to black out the numbers. All I want to know is, does he pay his bills on time?
Right. Right.
Mm,
And that's a pattern. And
Yeah.
that's right.
you've got to see meaningful results in the patterns. And so
Good.
and then the other thing is, is there evidence of ownership and responsibility?
Right.
Mm,
Did
That's
do
good.
I own the problem, or do I deflect and defend myself and blame it on other people?
Yeah.
If you see a pattern of blaming, boy, that's a sure sign every time that something goes wrong. Well, it's their fault. They didn't do this and they didn't do that,
Yeah.
then you've got you got a problem.
Hmm.
Temporary struggles often show signs of learning, adaptation, and improvement. But situations that need ending typically involve recurring patterns with little
yeah.
change, despite repeated intervention.
That's
Mm.
super helpful.
We
Super
we
helpful.
talked about the consequences of having this conversation. It may go well, it may go poorly, and I think in my mind, one of the reasons I delay having this conversation is the what if questions. But
Yes,
what if this person talks to that person? What if by removing this person, other people get insecure? Or hey, that's the third person in the last 6 months has been removed. What's really going on behind the scenes here? And all,
right,
social
right.
media and all. But so there's this thought, this fear comes out of filling in the blank with my worst experiences and my most painful things that have ever happened in leadership. And I assume some things about them. I have to challenge that. But one of the things that the book talks about, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on, is there really is a cost to not doing it. There's a cost to doing it. There's a cost to not doing it. And could you just kind of help those I believe there's people right now, Ralph, that are listening. They need this. The reason they clicked on this one and not the one
Yeah,
before, maybe the one after, is because I'm going through this right now.
right.
So could you talk to them a little bit about they're hesitant for good reasons, but there is a cost eventually if you don't do the right things at the right time for the right reasons.
Yes, and I have to say, sadly enough, I'm an expert at this.
Yes, I think we all are.
Uh, and
Darn
and
that mercy.
and one of my worst seasons of my life was
Mhm.
because I waited too long, and I ended up having to fire 3 pastors in 7 months.
Oh,
And
brutal.
it was one of the most brutal times of life for me. And
Mhm.
here's what I noticed. First of all, if you delay too long, strong performers become frustrated.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
people that
100%,
are
100% right.
Yeah.
people that are performing well and really putting their nose to the grindstone and getting the job done, they're going, wait a minute, I'm busting my back on this,
Yeah.
and you're letting him skate, and this isn't right. And then you'll notice that team morale declines. People
Yeah.
are just not as excited about coming to the meetings and being a part of staff meetings,
Yeah.
or being a part, or even going to church.
Yeah.
And then accountability erodes. People look at you letting this guy slide, and you're going,
Yes.
well, I guess that's the new bar that is being set. I can do
Yeah.
whatever I want to. I can come into the office anytime I want to. I don't I
Yeah.
don't need to be accountable. Then creativity and innovation slows down.
Hmm.
People are not
Yeah.
excited. They're not planning for the
Yeah.
future. They're not excited about the future. Now
Yeah.
but the leader's energy. Now, if you're listening to this right now, I can tell you this: if your energy is being consumed in managing preventable problems, right now you're exhausted and tired, and
Hmm.
there's somebody chirping in your ear saying, when are you going to do something about this?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that chirping may probably be your wife.
Yeah.
Or the Holy Spirit, right? Or
Well,
I
the
can tell
Holy
the
Spirit
difference
might
because
did
the
I
not
Holy
get those
say
two
Spirit's,
it
mixed
the
up?
same.
I heard somebody say that my wife and the Holy Spirit say the same thing, only the Holy Spirit's not angry when he says it. My wife usually is. That's how I can discern. But that's
You
true,
know,
right? Because your wife would be, or your spouse would be the person saying,
That's right.
you're being taken advantage of. Why don't you do
That's
something
right.
about this?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. And it's so funny because uh, people ask me what is one of the biggest leadership lessons you've learned in leadership, and that is listen to your wife.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean all the time. It doesn't mean that every time, but boy, she
Yeah.
is saying she sees things from an up
Yes.
close and personal perspective,
Yeah.
and
yeah,
her voice needs to be listened to.
yeah.
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 Ralph, before I jump into the next question, just a thought, is we were talking about the impact on the high performers, the people who
Yes.
are doing a good job, they're committed, they're
Yes.
passionate.
Yes.
Um, Here's the thought that runs through their mind, and I've heard this expressed. You said, why am I busting, my rear end to do this? I think high capacity people have a limited amount of time. They have demands on their time, and if they feel like what they're doing is not being taken seriously, if they see people getting away with murder, in their mind they're thinking, I've got a bunch of other things I could give this time to,
Yes.
and it will be a much more wholesome environment that way. And
Yeah.
so I do think that it has a huge impact on on the people who are bearing good fruit. They see it happening and are thinking, is this leader going to say something about this, do something about this? Why is this person getting away with this? And I've got plenty of other things I could do with my spare time.
Or there's another church that has been calling me saying, we would like for you to come with
There
us.
you go.
And you're going, and why am I
Yep.
staying here and spinning my wheels when I can go someplace else and have a
Yeah.
have a more fruitful ministry?
I think the best way I've ever heard it said is if there's a problem in your organization and others around you think the leader doesn't know what's going on, that costs the leader something. But if there's something going on in your organization, someone's not performing well, and you think the leader does know what's going on and fails to do something about it, that then
Yes.
to multiply it by 10.
Yes.
100% right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
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 So Ralph, I want to skip down a couple of questions here. We've been talking a little bit about how leaders should communicate to folks who aren't taking ownership, aren't taking responsibility, and the like. How should leaders communicate difficult endings to teammates?
Yeah.
Like,
Good question.
talk to us a little bit about that, because I think that's one of the hangups leaders have
Now
too.
say
Like,
that.
what do I say
Repeat
to my
that
team?
question. What?
Like, how should leaders communicate difficult endings to their teams?
Oh, to
So,
their teams.
yeah,
Yes.
we're letting go. The associate pastor is being let
Yes.
go. I mean, what do they say? How much? How little? Can you give us
Yeah.
some guidance
Yes.
there?
Yes. 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 Well, I think there are some mistakes that I see that I've made. What I think the first thing, and is very important, is to be clear rather than use vague words.
Mhm.
Okay.
And it almost needs to be scripted.
Mm,
This is
I
why.
agree with that, Ralph. Mm,
And let me say something else too while we're at it, because our viewers may or may not know, I work in the area of church insurance. So it is critical that you get legal counsel before you let someone go.
Wow.
It is critical. And
Hmm.
the best place to go is to your insurance company. I work with Brotherhood Mutual, and I'm pretty partial to them. But but it's important that you go to them and saying, I'm getting ready to let somebody to go. Can you direct me to legal counsel on how to let this person go? And then
Wow.
the second thing is there are only certain things that legally you are allowed to say.
That's right.
Hmm.
And if you go beyond that, you could end up in court with a liability issue. So,
Wow.
so it's important. So,
Yeah.
the key is focusing in not so much on the person, but the organizational needs and realities.
Okay.
Right
That's
now,
good.
in the season of our church, this is what is needed. And John is not uh, the right person and the right fit for us at this moment, at this time in our organization. And it's
And,
important.
and I think maybe you leave it there, right?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know that you need to say much more than that. I think short, sweet, businesslike, and don't go off. You said be scripted. Don't go off script.
No, no. And it's important. Now, when I worked with Erwin McManus at Mosaic for 10 years, we had the 24-hour rule that we instituted in the church, and it really helped with the area of gossip, because when someone lets go, you have just lit on fire the gossip fire, and it's going to go around. And when people would come up to me and say, I don't, Erwin did this, or the pastor did that, and that was wrong, and this was wrong, then I would say, well, you make a good point. You need to tell Erwin this, and I'm going to give you 24 hours to tell him before I go and tell him that you said
Yeah.
this.
That's
Right.
good.
And if the staff is trained in something related to the 24-hour rule, if they are trained, then you will stop uh, gossip in its tracks, because people will know, I can't come to you, because if I talk to you about this, it's going to go to
Right.
the pastor. And so helping people understand that. And then I think another thing is to acknowledge the emotional impact,
Yeah.
Mm.
and just say, man, this is so tough on me. This is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, and it is. And I feel so sorry for him and his family. But you know what? I am so excited, because I know God has something much better for him than where he is now here, and I believe that God is going to lead him to someplace that he's going to be much more fruitful in his ministry. But acknowledge the emotional impact. This is hard, and I'm grieving too. But then finally come back, and this is where reinforcing the mission and the future direction of the church, or the ministry, or the job, or the company, whatever it is, becomes very important. God, we are stewards for our community right now. And for the sake of the gospel and what we are trying to do, we need to move forward and complete what God has called us to do. So keeping the vision out there, that we have not forgotten it and we are
Right.
moving forward. But
That's
showing
good.
compassion and is very important.
Yeah.
And this is where, if you have to let someone go, giving them as generous a now, some people you can't, just because of the circumstances, but being generous with the compensation package for them leaving.
Right.
Great. That's really good.
Yeah.
Jim, you
Something
want to
we
take that
well,
last question?
I just real quickly, that something we've added too is if you're going to be generous, it comes out on a weekly basis or on a normal pay cycle. So you don't give them 3 months of severance pay. Then they got on
Right.
social media the next day, and
That's right.
your behavior is tied now. I can't subsidize the destruction of the Lord's church through taking people's tithe dollars and giving it to the one who's accusing the brothers. You know what I mean? So I understand this is a difficult time. You're hurt. I'm going to ask you to behave yourself for the next 12 weeks. After that, we'll have the new youth pastor in or the new whatever it is, and it's your story. You can tell it to anybody you want. Just understand that we're holding you accountable for what you say, and this is part of that. So I just add that too. The last question we had here, Ralph, was this: is how can go ahead,
Let me
please?
say something in
Yeah,
there on that. Never let somebody go isolated by yourself. You always need to have a second person in the room with
yes,
you.
yeah, a
Very
witness.
good.
Then, secondly, there needs to be documents that are signed,
I agree.
and the check already has to be ready. The first check has to be there and say, "This is the first check." And then, as you said, Jim, the following checks are dependent upon X, Y, and Z.
Yeah,
But it
everybody
has to
knows it.
be, it has to be done, and it has to be written down, and they have to sign it,
Yeah,
and you have to sign it.
yeah.
Very good.
Okay. I think the other thing too is when you write it down, they're going to go home to a spouse and say what happened, and this is what
Yeah.
happened, and this is what I signed, and this is in writing.
Yes.
And
Good.
usually at the
Yep.
end of 60, 90 days or 6 months of performance improvements that didn't prove fruitful, this should not be a surprise to people, right? We should be helping them along, and
Yes.
we're their
Yes.
pastor. We should be helping them along, and if they can't
Yes.
get it, then it becomes obvious, hopefully to everybody over time. So, hey, the
Yep.
last question, Ralph. Thanks for just your time and your wisdom in doing this, but that there's a culture that's made. And so if somebody's let go and the answer has to be for litigious reasons vague, you know, and I'm saying not vague, but just he wasn't the right fit for this season, etc. It can create a fear in everybody else. Like, am I the right fit? Am I going to get a meeting next week? I know some of my friends, we work together. They're from my congregation. We hire them on staff. And I say, hey, you want to go to lunch next week? And they say, what's wrong? Why do you want to suddenly take me to lunch next week? It's like, because we're friends, you know. But there's
Yeah.
that. Wait a minute. Last time you took somebody to lunch, you fired him. Like, what is? Why are we going to your house for lunch today and not out in public? What's going on? So how do you create a culture where people understand there are seasons? Those seasons come. They have beginnings, middles, and ends, and it's going to be okay. Like, how do you help them know that God is in control, that you're His child and He loves you, and how have you done that in the past?
Well, first of all, never do it over lunch.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a horrible waste of food. And uh, so, but I think there are several things. Number one is regular evaluation of ministry programs, strategies, and roles.
Yes.
It needs to be so baked into the life of the church, the life of staff meetings, the life of leadership meetings, where there is evaluation. And
Yes.
it's not just, oh, we had a good time. No, there should be metrics by which you're evaluating, and those metrics need to be brought up. We expected this and we got this.
Yeah.
Was it on the positive side or the negative side, or did we hit the
Yeah.
bullseye? And if
Right.
not, then why? And what needs to happen, and what needs to change the next time, so that in public staff meetings, those things are very clearly spelled out, and
Right.
evaluation is baked into the leader's mind and into the
Right. That's
activities.
that's the rhythms. That's the
That's
rhythms
right.
of
The
that's our
rhythms.
natural flow
The
is
rhythms.
what are we going to
And
do and
then,
how did we do and what are we
yeah,
going to do next? Yeah.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And celebrating, then
Hmm.
then celebrating when things go right.
That's good. Yeah.
I remember this is a crazy story, but when we had we Irwin was one of the first people that started spontaneous baptisms, and I had never heard of it before.
Yeah.
And we decided one night we were going to baptize anybody who was ready to be baptized.
Yeah.
We ended up that night baptizing over 80 people, and we
Uh,
actually had to stop it because it was getting so late.
yeah.
But
Wow.
we ran out. We said we were going to provide clothes for everyone, We're going to provide the shorts and the t-shirts and the towels. We ran out of them. And in the next staff meeting, we got a talking to.
Yeah.
Because we were not expecting or ready for what was going to happen. And I guarantee you, the next time we did it, we had more than enough.
Yeah.
Boy, I'll tell you what, the multitudes could have come, and we were ready for it. And so if that's not baked into the leader's DNA and into the leadership morale, then there's a problem there. And then celebrating the lessons when they're completed, and then rewarding accountability and adaptability.
Yeah.
When someone has to go the extra mile to make it across the line, the finish line, you just reward them, and you do it publicly.
Yeah.
And so people are going, oh, so this is what is rewarded. This is what is given. So then addressing problems early rather than letting them linger. This is one of the biggest problems I had early on in my ministry, because oh no, well, let's just maybe just had a bad day,
Yeah. Well, it's better time. Yeah.
Yes, but being immediate in response and getting feedback. Now, I don't mean right after church you go to the guy in the sound box and you chew him out because the lyrics weren't in tune with the music. Okay, I'm not saying that. There's a time and a place for it, but you wait until the moment that it's private, and then you sit down with them and you say, "Hey, listen, things are not going well here in the tech booth.
We can do better. Yeah,
we can do better. What do we need? What do we need to do? What resources do you need from me in order for you to do a better job?"
Right on.
I'm not just throwing you under the bus. What is it that I can do to help you get this done? And the other thing is constantly reminding everyone that endings are a part of ministry. And one of the best ways of doing this is, as you get into December, there should, my personal feeling is that seasonally, you should say, okay, what are we going to cut this year?
Yeah.
What ministries do we need to cut? I mean, just asking that question is a powerful question.
Yeah.
What people need to be moved out of the seat into another seat?
Yeah.
And if you do that on a regular basis, people go, oh, I guess this is part of the way we do things around here. And
Man, Ralph.
and so when you're constantly thinking like that, then the organization has greater strength. The other thing that, and I keep referring to Erwin, he was working with him. Well, it's like being in a master class. He would probably once a month say to all of us, now you don't have to work here. You don't have to work here.
Right.
And if there ever comes a time that you feel like that this is not the place for you, then it's not bad that you have to leave.
Yeah.
And what he did was he gave permission for people to come to the end. And I remember that happened with me. I was there for 10 years, and I realized it was time. And I also realized I wasn't going to tell my boss until I had a job. So I got another job. And that's how we ended. And we ended very well. Yeah. Because I knew the time was right for me, and the time was right for him, for us not to be together in ministry anymore. We're still good friends.
Sure.
And that's the way it should be.
Right. Probably because of that, right? One of the reasons that relationship lasted, it wasn't just a business relationship.
Yes.
And Ralph, I would say it's not just the way it should be, it's the way it can be.
Yes.
I mean, we can actually do this. And so our watchers and our dear watchers and listeners today, I hope you have got a peek into the brilliance that is Ralph Neighbour today. We love having him on our team. As a matter of fact, we are in the fall, we are going to be launching cohorts around this very subject
Mm,
Yes.
of
wow.
necessary endings. And we're going to put the link to register for those cohorts in the show notes of this episode. I think it would be one of the best investments of your resources, your time and your money to spend. I think, Ralph, we're going 4 months, right? We're meeting once a month for 3 months or 4 months, something like that.
Yeah, it's 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah,
It'll
it
be
will.
kind of a short fall event where
Yeah,
you can get training, and if you want to bring some of your team on with you, this is a great way to train a team on necessary endings, and a great
Good.
study for your leadership if you're looking for things to invest in them for the fall.
yeah. So
Mm.
we'll put that in the show notes. And we just that link to for you to register for that. And we want to encourage you to take advantage of it because I think what we're talking about today is where so many of our pastors lose their footing. They or get discouraged
Yeah.
or want to take a wide detour around. And I don't think there's any path towards growth and development and reaching your full potential as a leader that doesn't go through this path.
Yes.
Uh, and so we just appeal to you. So Jim, Ralph, thank you for being with us,
Yeah.
and we
Oh,
love
thank you.
you and
This has been a lot of
appreciate you so
fun.
much. And Jim, why don't you wrap us up?
Yeah. This is probably a good time for me to announce that I was going to do a cohort on procrastination, but I just never got around to it. So I will be a part of Ralph's because that one sounds good. Watchers and listeners, I'll say this too about Ralph. There's never been one time that I've called him that he hasn't answered the phone. Now think about that. The leadership, people that you've read their books, so he's eating meals with them and he answers his phone. So I highly recommend both Ralph and the ministry that's in him, and we love and appreciate him. So if
Thank
you
you.
would like to spend some time with Ralph or a Ralph-like person, through Converge Coaching, we would love to have that conversation with you. ConvergeCoach.com, and right there at the top of that page is the connect with us button. And Ralph is a great example of the cadre that has been just drawn from the nations to Converge Coaching. We'd love to be a part of your story. Sometimes you just need someone to tell you it's going to be okay, and you believe them. Sometimes you need someone to tell you that is a good plan and you should have courage and take it. Sometimes you need someone to say that's a terrible plan. Who taught you that? And help you form a good one. And coaches are great for that. So God bless you, our watchers and listeners. We are praying for you, cheering you on as you continue to lead from alignment.